Joel Goodling is really good at his job, evidenced at those Emmys behind him. He's also got the Eagles shrine. This is all part of his personality. I only wonder how good he is at that guitar behind him, but we're going to find out all that he has done. Not so good. We're going to find out about what he has done in his career. He works in sports media. He works for Bally Sports, pre and post producer for LA Kings, Angels, and beyond. He has had a storied career working at Spike and other places as well. So this will be really a fun opportunity to spotlight him and what he's accomplished in his career. I'm Bryan Fenley, a national anchor at Fox Sports Radio. You can follow Joel on Twitter at Joel Goodling. I'm on Twitter at Bryan Fenley. And Joel, I wanted to first of all welcome you on and thank you so much for doing this. And I think about how you got to LA initially, and I'm wondering, knowing how connected you are in the entertainment world, why your story hasn't been turned into like a Hulu documentary because of how you got to LA, where you took you were driving this Saturn, you had $500 in your wallet, and you believed in yourself. You took a chance on yourself. What's stopping you from making this into some sort of production?
Well, first of all, Brian, thanks for having me on. I did have $1,000, and then I stopped in Vegas for the first time in my life on the drive across the country, and then I think I had $500 to my name. That was back in '04, so it's been about 17, 18 years since that went down. It was, I had a job interview at the Style Network, and I know nothing about style, but you're 22 years old, you're out of college, you need a job, you need, to start your career. And I thought that was like a foot in the door and a way in, and then could lead to who knows, right? And when you're 22, like I knew I wanted to be in TV. I had no idea like what exactly I wanted to be or what I wanted to do. I just know I wanted to work in TV, and I wanted to eventually work in sports. That took me 10 years after the style job, right, to get there. But that drive across the country was it was like, this was like something I was supposed to do. I was living in New York at the time. I had a great internship. I was at HBO documentaries. Also don't know a ton about documentaries, at least at the time. And I learned a lot. I had a great internship, International Radio Television Society, IRTS. And they like housed us for free in, East Village, and gave us a stipend. And then we met with like industry leaders, like 3-4 times a week, from CBS News to like the Daily Show, and and it was just awesome. It was just like a great experience. I'm very fortunate to get I still feel very lucky to get it. It launched my career. Like I would not be talking with you if that wasn't the case. But made for TV movie or Hulu series. No, I think I'm one of a lot of people that just kind of have a dream and go for it. And then I said if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. I go back to Pennsylvania, and so be it.
You've had, and like you pointed out, these different instances over the course of your career where the feeling struck in your mind that it was meant to be. What are those moments that stand out to you across the course of your career? Those it was meant to be moments where it just fit and you knew something good was happening in your career.
It's a great question. I don't know if there's meant to be moments, but it was like I'm in the right place, the right time, and I've worked hard enough to get lucky. Right? Like you're like, I know I can do a good job, but like you still need the breaks, right? The only reason I have my job at now Bally Sports is because I played softball with a guy who
Wow.
got, like I had played softball with a career at Fox Sports West at the time, and he helped me get me that first interview. I'm playing online, nothing, crickets, right? You get the auto robot emails back, and it just was not. I saw that job posting for pre-post producer, and I play softball with a guy, and that's how I get that first interview, and then the second interview, third interview, fourth interview, and eventually get the job. So if I don't play softball with a guy, I don't get that break. So did I put myself in a position to get that job? Of course, but to get that break, you need a little luck too. Um, so yeah, there's moments are just like, I don't know. I remember there when I was like 25 years old, and I'm in Perth, Australia, covering Red Bull Air Race World Series. And, I flew whatever it was, 17 hours there. And I'm the youngest producer and person there by far. Right. And it was just like, that was one of those moments like, oh, wow, I'm getting paid to like do this. This is crazy. Like, this is absurd. That was definitely one of those moments. That was so fun. I traveled the world, doing airplane racing. It was sports, and it was cool, and it was fun. And just, I don't know. Yeah, anytime I take a trip and, I remember the first time doing a chartered flight for sports, and you sit down and you get that like, solo cup of like Pinot Noir, and you're like, what is happening here? Right? It's like this is absurd. I shouldn't be here. Like I have no athletic ability. How am I traveling the life of like a pro athlete? It's just those moments where you do pinch yourself a little bit, but it's what I wanted to do, and it's not all glory, as you know, in the sports world. It's not all, all the fun stuff all the time. It can be a grind and grueling, but it's worth it.
What has been the biggest example of the grind for you over your career? Where does that stand out the most?
My
Or show
personal
itself?
life, my personal life for sure, because it affects, before I got into sports, I had more of a Monday through Friday. Yeah, I'd work weekends, some long hours, whatnot, but it was pretty structured. And now it's like, since you got into sports, there are the weekends are say goodbye, right? Nights say goodbye. And, what comes with that is your friendships, your relationships, your friends have weekends off. Now you work every weekend. So you're not going to see your friends as much. You're not going to see your loved one as much. You're not going to be able to go home for, Thanksgiving or 4th of July. Or I think I missed, 9 of the last 11 Year's Eves, because hockey always they play on New Year's Eve. So things like that, where with the travel and whatnot, even though the travel's going away in the post-COVID world, those are the times where it's just, yeah, you recognize it.
Joel Goodling is with us. He's with Bally Sports, producer extraordinaire for Kings, Angels, and beyond. I'm Bryan Fenley, an anchor at Fox Sports Radio. When it comes to finding that time for yourself, which, like you said, it doesn't happen very often, noting how busy your schedule is, but what does running marathons do for you as far as self-expression, as far as sort of enjoying whatever time you have with yourself, and being a moment to really tap into who you are, and what you are all about?
Another great question. I'm very goal oriented, right?
Okay.
So like distance running it was always something I was okay at. I wasn't great at it, but I was okay enough. I ran in college. I was like our second to worst runner, on a D2 team in college, but like I could do it, and I could do the volume and, the 70, 80 miles a week of training. Don't do that anymore. Now that I'm closing in on the big 4-0 this year, I can't really pound out that kind of mileage. But the last couple of years, I started doing marathons just as something I'd never done before. It was just kind of tickled my brain as far as like the completionist in me. Like I just want to try something that's hard and challenging. And I used to run. Let me see if I can do well, and I've run three in the last 5 years. I think I'm marathon retired because they
Are
suck.
you?
They suck. they're excruciating on the body and the legs and the mind and the soul. My goodness. They're not for everybody. I think I can roll out of bed and do a half marathon. I'm not trying to be arrogant in saying that. But once you get over like 14, 15, 20 miles, like, my goodness, it's a lot. But I do love them just because it's, you have a goal, you complete it, you try to do it as well as you can. My first one was my best one, and I didn't even know what I was doing. I literally tried to, I think, sprint the Huntington Beach Marathon, and it was like 80 degrees that day, and mile 22, I'm like, I can't see straight, but that was fun. Yeah, I did. What did I do? It was a 3-hour, 13-minute marathon, my first one. I think I missed Boston by a couple minutes, and had no idea. Like I just was literally just trying to sprint 26 miles, and it worked out. I didn't die. So.
If I was doing a 10K, I think I'd be 3 hours and however minutes you mentioned. And I saw that you did a 10K, and I think it was your Kings play-by-play guy, Alex Faust. He interviewed you afterwards.
He did.
What was it like answering questions after you went through that draining ordeal of a race?
You know what? That had never happened to me. And obviously, yeah, you put the shoe on the other foot, and all of a sudden the producer's getting interviewed by his quote unquote talent, Alex Faust, after a grueling 10K in the Redondo Beach heat. And once I caught my breath, I tried to do the thing that the athletes do and just try to give them the answers. And I wanted nothing to do with that interview at that time. I wanted to throw I wanted to throw up. But I had to answer those hard hitting questions from Mr. Faust. But it was yeah, the shoe on the other foot might then you're like, okay, yeah, these guys don't want to be, they don't want to talk all the time, but they know it's their job and they know they it's part of their responsibilities, our media, and it's the game we all kind of play to grow our sports and grow our product and sell the stars, right? So, but yeah, me being interviewed after the LA Kings 10K, that was not needed, and I will get Faust back for that at some
Oh,
point.
I'm sure you will, and I hopefully you post that on social media so that we all can see that. And while you might be retired when it comes to the whole running thing, I don't think you're retired when it comes to golf.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? What are we looking at when we see you out there on the golf course? What am I expected to see out of you?
You're gonna see the best bogey golfer in the world. No, uh, oh my goodness. No, golf to me, it's something I played in high school with my grandfather, right? And then I picked it up 3-4 years ago again, and to me, it was the perfect day off escape. You're just out, you know, you're in the California sunshine out here. There's, it's beautiful every day. So that's usually not a problem to get out. And, I love the challenge that golf presents. And it also tickles my brain in that sense where it's hard. If it was easy, everybody would do it. So I love the challenge of it. And the minor adjustments you make. And then as soon as you get 9 out of 10 things going right. It's that one thing that, you're like, you can't figure it out. Where is it? Is my foot here? Is it my shoulder? Am I swinging too fast? Am I, not turning my head too much, whatever it is. So I love that challenge, I guess. And really just the R&R part. It's a great day off thing, especially when you're on the road, when we would travel and you're in, wherever, Florida, Michigan, and there's a good course nearby and you can just go with your colleagues and there's nothing better. So yeah, I just love that it's fun sometimes
Sometimes.
and relaxing. I mean, literally it's my perfect day off.
You brought up your grandfather, and I know that he gave you a watch, and for you, it held a significant amount of legacy for him and what he stood for. What about him means the most to you?
That's a great question. My grandfather Arnays, who my mother did give me his watch a couple Christmases ago, or my birthday. My birthday's right by Christmas, so it might have been a combined gift. The best combined gift I ever got. He was an aeronautical engineer. He was like the most successful person of both sides of the family, as far as from just a intellectual standpoint. I mean, my family, I have a whole side of their teachers, and he was like the scientist and like that. And my brain doesn't work like that, so I always admired him for how he was able to I don't know what he did. Like I know it was like some missile defense stuff, like in like the 60s and 70s, and he never really could say. So that mystery was always there. But I just, I love golfing with him. I loved, when I think of my grandfather, I just think of those memories. He taught me how to play pool, which is another hobby I just really enjoy. When I'm just have an off day and I can go down to the local watering hole and shoot some pool. And then it's hard for me to not shoot pool and think of my grandfather, which is funny. And I could never beat him ever. I could never beat him. He knew the angles, he knew how to play, and he knew, and finesse, so it's weird that, those are my first memories, I think, of my grandfather. And both my grandparents and on both sides just really got me into sports early. Like my earliest memories are sitting on a couch at 4 or 5 years old and watching a Phillies game. It's some of my first memories. And then it was okay, that's Mike Schmidt. And I like Mike Schmidt's mustache and he hits home runs. So I like baseball now. And I got to spend that time with my grandfather. So it was it's all kind of just grouped into that.
You spoke about how he's good with angles and pool. You have found your angle to make it in this business in the way in which you've gotten to where you are. What is the most competitive aspect of you?
Ooh. Um, I don't like to be outworked. It's if you're outworking me, I'm going to try to match you. I might not, I'm going to try to at least meet you. There are some people like who are always just going to be smarter and more talented, but I'll be damned if you outwork me. And that's I guess when it comes to competitiveness, that's very important to me. And yeah, I know when to take the foot off the gas. I know when we're on our 20th game in 21 days, and like it might not behoove myself and the rest of the crew to like just crush them that day. Like sometimes you gotta just play the game and know when to put the foot on the gas and when to pull back. Right? It's just a give and take. But like overall, like you want to do good work at the end of the day. You want a great show. You want a clean show. You want to please your coworkers, the people watching at home, your bosses, it just like there's so many people you're doing it for, and you're not going to be able to please everybody, but you want everybody to just be like, oh, that's a good show. They do a good show. That's always my goal, and I think that just comes from hard work and just dedication, hard work. It's cliche, but it's true.
The work you had to put in at Bally, the day you learned that Tyler Skaggs had passed away, and I know how much he meant to you. You had talked about how there really was not a player out there who meant more to you in all the years that you had covered baseball. And to relive that day and how you got through the production and all that came surrounding that event, how do you look back now and think how you handled that?
That was the hardest day. Those 2 days, the day it happened, the next day when we had to do the press conference, and then the game, and then the post game with like all the players for the first time. Oh, hardest days of my career by far. And just because of like it was so you felt like you weren't even there. You're like just you're like working in a dream sequence of just like, and you got you're covering something that you literally had to process for 3 hours. And I remember, Gooby and Frenchie had to like come from the hotel. We were there, it was crazy. I remember talking to him on the tarmac, like, as we boarded the plane to Dallas the day before. And he was like he was the player who would talk to you like the most. Like if I'm just in the dugout, I'm doing my production meeting, he would come over and just like strike up not like a hello, like a 20-minute conversation, I remember we were in Minnesota, we're in Minneapolis, and I guess it would have been Kirk Cousins, right, at the time, quarterback.
Sure.
Yeah, I believe so. And he just wanted to meet him, and he was like so shy to like go over there and I was like, "You want me to like go over and talk to Kirk Cousins, like to like introduce you?" And like, "You're a professional ball player." Like he was like scared to do it. And he eventually went over with our one of our PR guys, and just those are the kind of memories when I think of Tyler. He was just like he lived here in Santa Monica or nearby, so like I'd see him around. I live in Venice. So he was just the guy I would say hello to the most, like on the team. So when everything happened, it was absolutely horrible. And then 3 hours later, we're on air. The next day, it's just like everyone. We were crying in the truck. We were crying on air. It was just so sad. It was, like forget the circumstances. It was just it's just a tragedy, on all levels, and it was just so sad. And to work through that, you just do it. And I don't know what else to say. It's like, and if we don't do a good show, it's like disrespecting the memory of this guy's life. So it's like you just had to like go to work and like get a rip of photographs and like find footage and do the things that just honor his life. And it was that the whole week. But like those 2 days particular, and then yeah, I did not work the no hitter. I was scheduled off, so we come home, we have the break. I think it was the first day out of the All-Star break. And so like I had all the day and now in hindsight, like I really wish I worked that game. I felt like I was supposed to be there, and it's hard. Don't always believe in that stuff, but like I felt like I was supposed to be there that day to like see it through. But yeah, I'll never forget that week in Texas.
What's a part of him that you always carry with you the rest of your life?
Just his energy, good people person. If he's having a bad day, he wouldn't wouldn't show it. And, he's just a fun guy. So he was a cool, fun guy. And, so I'd like to think I'm fun most of the time. So, friendly and silly and ridiculous. And, that's part of my personality as well.
Generally, when you're in the truck and you're overseeing a broadcast, what would your coworkers say is the most fun part of you?
I don't know if they would. No, no, they know I don't take myself too seriously. I can at times, but like for the most part, like I'm just, you know, like our my favorite part about the truck and the studio are just isn't like the conversations about work. It's just about your day to day. You could be talking about like what kind of electric car you're going to get, or what video game you're playing, or just other sports conversations is like dominate the day to day, for all sports and those sort of debates that we have. So I think they know I don't take myself too seriously, and that's had to evolve because at first when I started in live, like I didn't know what I was doing, and I was like scared out of my mind and worried I'd be like, fired from this dream job any day now. And I feel like I could not relax a little more, but I can just be myself. And, I think that hopefully shows in the way I produce a show and my work.
Speaking of producing shows, you had a lot of them to do at the beginning of this year. And coming from 2020, when everything kind of came to a halt, to you now going at it 100 miles per hour, how did you weather through those days where there was this excitement that sports were happening? You had the Kings starting up, the Angels were coming around the corner later in the year. And how did you even have time to sleep? How did you have time to do anything during those exciting moments? But also, your schedule must have had no free time.
Let's go back. So March 2020, right? Pandemic hits, 100 miles an hour to zero. So then for 4 months until we had the short season of baseball, like I've never really been by myself ever in my adult life. I've been working nonstop for a 20-year career. So here I have 4 months of nothing, and I thrived. I loved it. I took care of myself and got in great shape, and like just took care of my body and my mind. It was great. Baseball comes back, 60 games, was able to do that, and put a lot of energy and effort into that. And then, no hockey. So then it's September and October and November and December. And I struggled those months. I was like, I need my life back to kind of like that sort of routine. Hockey comes back, could not be more excited in January 2021. And I knew it was going to be, it's a truncated schedule. It's just, it's compact there. And those, what do we do? 56 games. And I was just excited to go back and do it. But by like end of February, I'm like, my goodness, like this is a lot. And, we're doing heavy volume here. I got thrown a couple spring training games. I'm just looking at the schedule. It just, it wasn't letting up really. We didn't have a lot of cancellations or COVID situation. We had a couple, but not many. So we went right into it, right into mid-May. I saw my Angel schedule and I was like, all right, we're going to go right into that. So I mean, literally for the first half of the year, this year, 2021, I just, it was a whole new routine, right? So we all have our routines. So I just knew what it was. This is my routine. And then if you do have those work from home days, you just have to like make the most of them and get a workout in, clear your mind, be ready to do a 15-hour day the next day. And then just kind of like, you might be doing 3 games in 4 days. So like if you have that one day off in those, 3 games in 4 days, you got to make the most of it. You have to take care of you. Like I always try to do something physical on those days off. I value my sleep. I try to get 7 hours. I really do if I can. Sometimes we don't get home till 11:30 at night. And by the time it's, I like calm down and the adrenaline wears off, it might be 1 a.m. But yeah, I might sleep till, 8 or 9 a.m. just because I need to. I just need to get that sleep to reset my body and be able to kind of like soldier through. And yeah, it was a really intense 6 months, but I think things are kind of like quote unquote back to normal a little bit in the sports world. We are now doing everything on site, no more traveling. It's easier in a way on the body and then in mine, and other ways not, because now I'm commuting down to Anaheim every day, so it's from Venice. It's not a fun commute, but you just, it's something, it's our new world. It's our new reality. So it's just something you just do. And, at the end of the day, when you are on that 20th game, 21 days, but you do a good show and you come home, it's extremely satisfying. It really is. And that's why I still do it and love it.
It's also satisfying to have a couple Emmys to showcase your work. And it's also satisfying that even with that long stretch of working every day, that you can go to Hawaii and run into Russell Westbrook. I
Yeah.
mean, there's work hard or play hard scenario here for Joel.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, yeah, I just went to Maui for a week in June, and I'd never been to Hawaii in my life. And that was something also, like, I was like, as soon as I get done these, this crazy 6 months, I got to go somewhere. Now everybody had the same idea of going to Maui. It was so crowded, including Russell Westbrook. And yeah, I saw him at one of the hotel bulls or pool/bars. And yeah, there was his family. I didn't really bother him, but I did have my Trust the Process t-shirt, which then my Sixers did just bounce him out of the first round. We're not going to talk about the Sixers anymore than this, but that'll end the conversation with my Sixers. But yeah, no, it was cool just to run it. I don't get weirded out by athletes at all, like at all anymore. Like it's like somebody very strange. It would have to be somebody that, like, meant a lot to me. Like this perfect example. Like if I ran into Mickey Morandini,
Okay.
the Philly second baseman from the 1990s, that would mean more to me than meaning like LeBron James, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Because it's just like, it has a personal connection to me. That it sounds so bizarre, right? But that's the truth. Like if I saw LeBron in the street, hey, what's up? Hey LeBron, like, and then just go about my day. I don't want a picture. I don't want an autograph. I don't want to bother you. Like I know, just working with so many pro athletes, like it's just not worth. I'm weird about autographs and photos, like that stuff, because I see it, I guess, and
Yeah.
it's not my thing. But yeah, I ran into Russ at the pool, and he saw my t-shirt, we acknowledged it, and then just moved on about our days. That was it. Trust the process.
Yeah, he didn't dunk you in the pool after that. And Mickey Morandini, I feel like for you, that's a way of you reliving your childhood and, expressing your inner child. Those are moments in which obviously would mean a lot more to you than LeBron James, because you had Mickey, and I would even go to, like, gosh, is this even a little bit past it? Like Bobby Abreu in those years?
Yeah, that's later 90s, but
Yeah.
like I like, the 93 Phillies team was like my favorite. It was the real life major league, right? They go from worst to first. Now granted, everybody was like not the best person, right? Like your Lenny Dykstra's, but then you had like your John Crux and, these Pete Incaviglia and like all these like lovable, like players, and Mitch Williams, of course. And, that run is like, that's like my still almost more so than the 08 Phillies team that win it when they win it all. The first time in my lifetime, I'm born in 81. So they win in 80 and they win in 08. And like the 93 team still has like the nostalgia of that team is still there. So yeah, because it does remind me of a period of my life when I'm, let's see, 93. So yeah, I'm like 12. And it's like a 12-year-old loves baseball. And then to see that team, and it's it does mean a little more. Bobby Abreu was a good player, good hitter, really good hitter on some bad Phillies teams.
That Phillies team you mentioned went on a run. Your career, you have been going on a run, and I'm excited to see it continue to go the way it's going. Joel Goodling, I'm Bryan Fenley. Notably, you are one who is behind the camera, but you deserve to be in front of the camera as well. This was an opportunity to spotlight you, to give people an understanding of what you do and how big of a part you play in productions with the Kings, with the Angels, and other properties with Bally Sports and beyond. And I appreciate you for doing this, because you play an instrumental role in a really critical role in live sports television. And I appreciate your time.
Bryan, no, thanks for having me. This was fun to do. And, I always like to try to give back a little bit. So if there's like a young person watching this who's just like out of college and you're like, I want to get into sports, like just work hard, be kind, ask the right questions, and you'll do okay.